Hello, everyone. This is EJ Schultz, news editor at Ad Age, and welcome to the latest installment of our monthly look at purpose marketing hits and misses. For the past several months, we've brought you this feature in podcast form, but I'm excited today to debut our first video episode. And joining me as usual is our regular guest, Thomas Kolster, who is the founder and creative director at Copenhagen-based Goodvertising agency, which advises companies and organizations on how to turn environmental, societal, and health risks into market opportunities. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you, EJ. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yes, it's great to do this in video form, and we have a lot to get to today. So let's get started. Our first hit, and the way we do this show is we talk about hits and misses. It's pretty simple. And our first hit comes from Heinz, which has created its own red-colored tattoo ink that it says avoids harmful ingredients. And the campaign comes from the Brazilian agency Soco. And it comes as some governments are starting to ban certain ingredients in tattoo ink for health reasons. Apparently, some pigments will cause rashes and itchiness and stuff like that. And apparently, the color red is a culprit. So let's take a look at the ad and see how Heinz is promoting this.
Fans carry us everywhere. Too bad red tattoo ink is made using the worst ingredients, and that's when shit happens. But there's no Heinz without red, or without caring for every ingredient. So from now on, what goes in red tattoo ink will have to live up to our quality standards too. Introducing the Heinz tattoo ink, made with our red and our quality in it. Under development in partnership with Electric Ink. So no worries about getting a red tattoo.
All right, Thomas, what do you like about this one?
Yeah, obviously you think, what the heck does tattoos have to do with, tomato ketchup? But I actually do love it because it's usually talk about natural ingredients. It's such an over-communicated category. And I think a lot of food brands, beverage brands get it wrong by like putting non-GMO, no artificial coloring, etc. on the packaging, which kind of makes me even more suspicious to those claims. So I think Heinz sort of found quite a creative way of saying, we believe so much in natural ingredients that we go on this whole way to actually create an ink. So I think it's differentiating, it's fun, it's provocative, and it's probably one of the best sort of food ads I've seen talking about sort of things like natural coloring. It kind of takes it back to the good old Whopper, the rotten Whopper. It's sort of on that level. It's interesting. It's fun.
Yeah, Heinz has done some really good marketing lately, and they're really taking what could be a boring category in ketchup and making it pretty interesting. And this is another example of that. Let's move on to our next one, which I really like. It comes from Busch Light and the Martin Agency, and it features a retired astronaut, Doug Hurley, who actually advocates against being an astronaut. And the reason has to do with beer. He says that zero gravity makes space beer drinking nearly impossible. So let's take a look at the ad.
These days, it seems like everybody thinks they can be an astronaut. As someone who has actually been one, I'm here to ask you to not. See, when I was up there looking back down on Earth, all I could really think about was, damn, I really miss beer. Physics makes it so we can't drink beer in space. The zero gravity prevents carbonation from rising, turning beer into a foamy mess.
Houston, that sounds like a problem.
So Busch Light hired me, retired astronaut Doug Hurley, to help beer share a case against space. Because we can't drink this up there, so let's preserve what we have down here in the great name of beer. For every case of Busch Light sold this April, they'll donate to One Tree Planet to help save our Earth so we can save our beer.
So not being able to drink beer in space is enough reason for me to stay here on Earth. I don't know about you, but this is another creative way to get an environmental message out there, and it comes, of course, during Earth Month, April here in the U.S. What did you like about this one?
Yeah, for sure. This might discourage Elon Musk from pursuing SpaceX and visiting Mars any day soon. No, I love it. I think it's exactly what I tend to say in these purpose hits and misses, that fun is just such a powerful weapon in this category. And I think they do it really, really well. I mean, I'm definitely not a big fan of the usual tree planting campaigns. I always feel that's most of the time the wrong approach as a brand. It's kind of like trying to save the Titanic from sinking by encouraging people to donate a bucket. So tree planting, I'm normally not a big fan of, but I think they sort of get away with it. And because of a couple of things, I think this sort of tongue-in-cheek way is quite clever. I think they sort of play well on their heritage and sort of what Bosch for, so the great outdoors, all that stuff. And also they make it connected to the product. I think it's so difficult often to sort of connect environmental topics to the product, but sort of the running water and this idea about saving our earth to save beer, I mean, just resonates with me. And I don't know, I still feel like it makes me want to drink a beer, and that's well done for an environmental ad as well.
Yes, well done, Busch Light. Let's move on to our next one, which I think you said you've sort of liked. So it's sort of a pseudo hit, but it comes from the European mobility app Bolt, which markets everything from scooters to car sharing. And we'll just play this ad in the background and talk about it. It's basically kind of playing up this idea of people breaking up with their cars. We can't hear it, but there's sort of some romantic music in the background. And they tell what they say are real stories about people deciding they no longer need to own a car. Obviously, they're using this to sell what they sell, which is non-car ownership stuff. What did you sort of like about this one, Thomas?
I like the sort of and I like the gist of it. You know, the play on breakups and stuff like that, and sort of kind of captivates you in the beginning. You don't really know what it's about, who's breaking up. Are these real love stories? What I don't like about it is, in fact, the takeaway. What's the real insight here? What's the behavior change? Because if you want to break up, I need a good reason for that breakup. And the problem with the ad, they don't really give me a good reason for breaking up with my car. So even though they talk about this thing that the best thing is not to use your car as much, because then you're going to live happier, but they're not really showing me that in the ad. And I think that's a big miss. So they got it right through most of the ad, but it just didn't really land well. So I think it lacked a real insight, and it lacked that motivation for me to say, do I really need a car? Most cars are actually only used 1 hour during the day. So I think they could have told us so many other things than just sort of playing on this breakup theme.
So a little weak on the call to action then.
Weak on the call to action, maybe also weak on the inside. I think it's a thing where there is a lot of good reasons for not owning a car. And I think they got too captivated by this breakup theme. So I probably won't break up with my car. They should have given me some better reasons.
Before we move on to our misses, which is always the funnest part of the show, let's take a look in the background again of another approach that you kind of are lukewarm on. It comes from Nescafe, and it's a pretty simple idea. Basically, you can use their coffee containers for other reasons once you're done with the coffee, right? Not a super brainy insight, but there it is, and you can see how they're showing it. What's your take on this approach?
You know what? I sort of, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too old, DJ. I don't know. But there's something that got sentimental in me when I watched this little ad. This thing about sort of taking care and almost going back to the 3 R's that you probably learned doing Earth Day, you know, sort of recycle and reduce and all that stuff. So there's something in it that's a nice little narrative. Why I probably didn't really give it the full, yeah, that's a hit, is in fact that when you then ask Nescafe, so what are you guys really doing about it? I mean, there's a packaging challenge. And what's such a shame is, in fact, they do have, you know, refillable pouches. They do have lighter packaging. So they could actually have ended this little ad in a much, much better way, encouraging people to say, yeah, it's great to take care of this little glass jar, but why don't you use one of our refillable Nescafe pouches next time? So the storytelling sort of somehow drew me in. I got sentimental, but it just, again, didn't land on both feet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I liked the scene where the boy is sort of capturing an insect in there. I mean, it sort of took me back to my childhood a little bit too. So that was nice touch. Okay.
I'm happy I'm not the only one who's
yeah, no, I agree.
Into that stuff.
Okay, on to our misses. We begin with the UK brand Vanish, which sells fabric cleaning products. And the brand's newest campaign tries to raise awareness about autism with an ad that shows a girl who's attached to her hoodie. And the message is that the brand's products can help clothes last longer. And in the brand's words, I took this right from their YouTube page, quote, for many autistic people, familiar clothes can be a lifeline, helping sensory regulation and providing a source of comfort. So making them last longer really matters. It's a lengthy ad, so I just want us to watch sort of the end of the story, and let's do that now.
Ash, it's time to get up, love.
Mum, have you seen my hoodie?
I think your dad washed it yesterday. It's on the banister.
Are you sure it's not here? Lily, have you moved my hoodie? Obviously I didn't. I'm gonna check your room because Ash, I told you.
Ash, do not go in Lily's room.
Lily, get off!
Upstairs. It'll be upstairs underneath your...
No.
Look, wet towels. And your blazer's on the floor.
Mum, Lily's taking it.
Whoa. Wait, enough. Look.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I'm not going to touch you. I'm just sitting here whilst you calm down, okay?
I need my hoodie to go into school. I am not going into school without it, and Lily's taken it. She has.
I don't think she has. Okay? It's okay. It's okay. Calm yourself down a bit. It's okay. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Ash, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Build a cruise ship if you like, Scott, with the rest of us. We're gonna make...
So this is a pretty intense ad with a serious message and what seems to be a worthy cause. Where do you think it fell short, Thomas?
I thought it was a very sort of captivating, insightful film, and it sort of opened my eyes towards how it feels like to live with autism and some of those challenges. So well done on that. It was beautiful narrated. I just had an issue with the brand fit, to be honest. I mean, they've done it right. They have a proper partnership. They got Channel 4 to support it. But Vanish and the claim that how do you help autistic people by making their clothes last longer? I don't really see the connection there. So it almost for me feels like purpose on steroids. And especially in a category where I think we see so much great stuff. So it almost seemed like they were, wait a moment, everybody else in this category is doing purpose stuff. Let's try and do something. I just don't buy the premise that we're helping autistic people, because if you was with Vanish, then what? It just falls flat. And it's such a shame, because I absolutely love wholeheartedly when brands stand behind something like this. And as I said, the commercial is amazing. It opens your eyes towards autism, but I just don't think the brand fit is right. So it's sort of falls flat.
Yeah, here in the US, I wasn't that familiar, if at all, with Vanish. And I watched the ad first, really, without knowing the product. And then I went and Googled and found the product. I'm like, oh, it took a while for me to then make that connection. So I get your point. Okay, our next one is a little more lighthearted. We're going to take a trip to Sesame Street. The ad comes from where's our music? The ad comes from United, and it features Oscar the Grouch, whom the airline touts as its, quote, chief trash officer. The ad from 72 and Sunny plugs the airline's sustainability efforts, like using waste to create sustainable jet fuel. And let's watch this one.
Hey, Oscar.
Scram!
I wanted to see how your first day is going.
Oh, absolutely rotten.
Are you gonna eat that?
Well, yeah, it's called a garbage can, not a garbage can't.
True. There's a lot of things garbage can do.
Yeah, I know. Trash expert here.
Did you know there's waste that can be turned into this thing called sustainable aviation fuel, an alternative to normal jet fuel that can help fly a plane with reduced life cycle emissions?
Trash? Fly a plane? Sounds like a bunch of old baloney to me. That's what this is missing.
That's where you come in. Together, we can help get more people passionate about trash and build towards a future where everyone flies with SAF.
What kind of trash we talking here?
Stuff like leftover cooking oil and grease.
Make people love trash. Got it.
Oh, I made you something.
Looks like garbage. I love it. Yeah. Look at that.
All right, Thomas, what's not to like about Oscar the Grouch? Come on.
Oh, I don't know where to begin. Three things. I think they're just talking down to people. It's like they're talking to me like I'm a 3-year-old, and they're trying to explain this topic in. I think most people have used biofuels in their cars for like a decade or so. So I don't think you need to like make us dumber than we actually are. The second thing for me is sustainable aviation fuel. Really? I mean the oxymoron in aviation fuel and sustainable, I just don't get it. And probably the real monster in this film, for me at least, is sort of United. It's kind of like they have this cute little handle that's saying, believe in us, we're doing our best to have sustainable aviation fuel, but they're not talking about the much bigger issue, which is in fact that flying is the most polluting mode of transportation. So it almost seems like United is trying to distract us from a much bigger topic that I think other airlines like KLM has tackled in a much more serious manner. We've had Lufthansa on as well earlier in the podcast. So I think this is really purely executed. In fact, when I saw it, I was like, this is going to be like a decade old. It can't be right now where you have an airline going out in this manner to talk to Americans like we been sleeping under a rock the last 3 decades and didn't know about climate change or the damage of aviation on our climate.
I'm wondering though, I don't know this. I'd be interested to know the media buy. Like maybe it is actually targeting kids, perhaps in some way, because the way like you said, maybe it would work with younger audiences in some way. At least get them thinking about this kind of stuff. What do you think?
No. My niece is 13. I mean, then it's going to be way younger people. I think young people today are much more demanding, are much more challenging towards brands and especially probably airlines. So I'm not really buying it.
Okay.
And it's surprising. I mean, it's the second time we see an airline doing some of this stuff. We would expect them to do better and be much more informed about this.
Okay, moving on. Our next up is Dove, which is, of course, forever been doing purpose type advertising marketing. And this one promotes an injectable billboard, and it comes from David Miami and Ogilvy, Toronto, and it features a billboard made almost entirely of syringes. And it's meant to discourage injectables for cosmetic purposes. And it's part of Dove's long-running push to expose harmful beauty ideals. Let's play this one in the background as we sort of talk about it. What's your take, Thomas?
I think it's difficult to judge Dove at the same standards as everyone else. I think we've seen so much great work from Dove over the years. I think it's probably one of the longest running purpose campaigns since Real Beauty, and since I think the first one is inaugurated in Canada. So I think why I sort of have a beef with this one is it's just not as smart as a lot of the other stuff we've seen from Dove. I think most of Dove ads sort of give this sort of emotional bond or give us a fresh insight. And I think we're seeing this thing with young people across the world that are sort of using plastic operations and are not feeling beautiful, etc. I just don't feel that this billboard is really doing that trick. it doesn't really give me anything new. It doesn't give me any insights. But again, it's okay. And I think it's just because it's Dove. I think they could have done much better. They have such a strong legacy of creative work. So yeah, shame. It's an important.
So they're maybe a little bit of a victim of their own success. You have a really high bar for them, and this just didn't meet it.
Again, I think as we had with some of the earlier stuff from sort of Vanish and Bold, I think it's crucial to have a real insight. It's crucial to use the communication time to talk to people about something new, tell them about something new, give them a fresh new perspective, tell them something that might change behaviors or mindset. And I think they don't really do that by just sort of giving us a statistic. Whereas, you know, the for example, the work with autism was beautiful. It opened my eyes towards really sort of viewing the world of autistic people in a completely different light. I don't think this really changed anything for me. Maybe I'm just becoming cynical, but I think they could have done much better. They needed a bit of an injection of emotional empathy in that piece of ad.
All right, we're out of time. That does it for this month's edition. I want to thank our producer, Lauren Ciardio, and once again, thank Thomas Kolster for helping us dissect purpose marketing hits and misses. And we'll be back next month with another episode. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll catch you next time.